And that doesn't even count when we had the leak in the basement or when we realized there was no dishwasher. People, I didn't even notice there was no, I was so excited to buy this house. I didn't even notice that the kitchen didn't have a dishwasher. That's it was one of the first additions that we made. Hi everyone, it's Tina with Picture It Personal Finance, where I help people make stronger money decisions based on their personal circumstances. And today I want to tell the very woeful story of how not to buy a house. This is my story and my husband's story about how we purchased our first home. And after I tell you the story, you'll understand why I have 5 principles, that I now use to help guide other people to purchase homes. Although, because I do so strongly believe that everybody's finances are personal to them and personal to their unique circumstances, these are guidelines that I use and not hard and fast rules. That being said, I want you to picture it. It is 2006 and you have, I must have been 26 at the time, 27 at the time, and my husband was 25. We were so excited. We had moved from Montana to Minneapolis. We both had jobs in the city and we were feeling so proud of ourselves because we were collectively or as a household making about $70,000 a year, and we just, we thought we were the cat's meow. We were so pleased with what we were doing, and we thought now is the time. Like, we've been together for 2 years. It's time to buy a house, because isn't that the way the story goes? You buy a house, you get a dog, you start having kids. And this is what was my vision for the future. And I sold it really good because my husband was 100% on board. So even though we were dirt poor, we decided this is exactly the right next step for us. So in late 2006, we found a house. We found it for $189,000, and it was so cute. It was a little cottagey style home, one of those 1960s houses that's like essentially a kitchen, an eat-in kitchen, a living room, and then 2 bedrooms with a bathroom right in the middle. So it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And then it had a basement with a little family area and then an unfinished section for storage. And I'm telling you guys, this house was so cute. The people who had it before us had put up this very cottagey feel, like the paint colors were amazing. The wallpaper in the bedroom was amazing. I fell in love. And so we were like, yes, let's do this. Let's totally do this. Mistake number 1, we did not negotiate on price. We were so excited to find a home that we liked that we just went ahead and gave them full asking at a time where negotiations were absolutely appropriate. It was not the market then that it is today. And we should have totally lowballed them at least a little bit and taken a few $1,000s off, but we did not do that. So that was mistake number 1, but we were still pretty darn excited. And then we found out that you have to put down earnest money. We did not know about earnest money. So this resulted in us realizing that we did not have $1,000 to put down on the house, which might have been a red flag for other people, but it wasn't for us. Oh no. No, I called my parents and got a loan of $1,000. Eventually, my parents gave it to us as a gift, but I have to tell you, I borrowed $1,000 from my parents for the earnest money of a house. Oh my. Next step was to go to a mortgage broker so that we could get a loan because we didn't know about pre-approval. We were so naive. So we go to the mortgage broker and they shop around and find us the best mortgage options. But because we had no money down, because remember, we didn't even have $1,000 for earnest money. So we absolutely did not have 5, 10, 20% to put down on this house. What we ended up doing to avoid PMI, which is, something mortgage insurance, we did what's called a first-second split. We got a first mortgage at 6.75%. That was an interest-only 30-year mortgage. So for 30 years, we would pay nothing but the interest on this mortgage. And then we got a second mortgage, which was treated like the 20% down, even though we didn't have the money. Essentially, we took mortgage number 1 from one bank and we took mortgage number 2 from another bank so that mortgage number 1 would think that we had 20% down. This is so I don't even like, this is why there was the market collapse, okay? And I'll get up to that. But first, let me finish this. That second mortgage was a 5-year ARM at 8.75% interest with a balloon payment at the end. So if we paid only our interest on that 20%, we would have had, I think, like a $300 a month payment, but we had a balloon payment at the end for $24,000. So was I worried? No, nope, I wasn't. Because why? Why wasn't I worried? Well, I'll tell you why. It was because at that time, I used to have a little saying. There's only two industries that never go down in value: organized crime and real estate. For as long as I could remember, which wasn't very long because I was only 26 or 27 at the time, I'd never seen housing prices go down. Now, I was born in the 70s, so you would think that maybe I could have realized that it had happened in the past. But my parents were not very good with money either, and they didn't buy their first home until almost in their late 40s, I want to say. So they didn't really have any advice to give me in this situation. And so my husband and I were like, sounds good to us. Avoiding PMI is going to save us some money. But here's where everything ran foul. This happened in February of 2007. It was later on that very same year that Lehman Brothers collapsed because of the subprime mortgage market, which our mortgage, I believe, would have qualified for. And everything tanked. Everything tanked. We purchased our home for about $190,000, and by the end of 2007, that house was worth $160,000, and it went down further from there. So for those of you who were homeowners at that time, I'm sure you can commiserate. I hope and pray that you did not make as stupid of decisions about the mortgages you took out as we did. I will tell you, though, that in the end, I have chosen to believe that this was a pivotal learning in my life, right? I actually believe this was the beginning of me getting to where I am today as a financial coach, because after that happened and we saw how much the market had depreciated and we knew we had that balloon payment coming up, my husband and I got hungry. We were like, okay, no more eating out. I won't say that we went totally hardcore beans and rice, because I still got my new clothes and my new handbags and I still was dressing nice for my corporate job in the city. But we really cut back a lot, and I no longer browse the Target end caps. That was a hobby I used to have, to just leisure time. I would just browse around Target. All of that had to end, and we started doing triple payments on that balloon payment or that second mortgage. Now, in the meantime, that 30-year interest only, we just paid interest only on that. There was no hope of us paying down the principal on that. All we were focused on was getting rid of that second 5-year ARM with that balloon payment at the end, because we were utterly terrified that at the end of 5 years, we would have $24,000 that we wouldn't be able to come up with. So we got crazy, we got hard, we hustled, we got promotions, we did what we had to do, and we got that paid off. This was also the beginning of budgeting for us. So at this time, we introduced a budget. It wasn't a zero-based budget or even the cash flow budget that I teach people now. It was more of a budget template, but it was something, and it got us on the right path. So there you guys have it. That was how not to buy a house. So let's see, what are all the things I did wrong? I didn't negotiate. I took out a first and second mortgage split to avoid having PMI, all because we had no down payment. I borrowed the earnest money. We had a 5-year ARM with a balloon payment, and we had an interest-only loan. Holy smokes, those are all terrible, utterly terrible. And so if you are considering any of those things, you might want to reconsider. The only one that I would still consider today, and we actually did this for the purchase of our duplex, is the ARM. But as you can see, there were multiple mistakes that we made, and in the end, it paid off for us because we took them all as stupid tax or the tuition of life, however you want to call it, and we really, truly changed so much about how we handled money at the time, and it actually made my husband and I closer. So I think a lot of times in crisis, people can be pulled apart or they can be pulled together. And we worked really hard together as a team, and it actually solidified for me that this is my partner for life. Now, that all being said, let me go ahead and tell you some of the guideposts or guidelines that I have for people to purchase a home today. Firstly, I think it is so important to have 20% down minimum. If you can avoid PMI, you absolutely should. I don't know that a lot of people realize that PMI, it's called mortgage insurance. You think it's to protect you. It's not. It's to protect the bank. It's essentially the bank forcing you to buy insurance so that if you ever can't make your mortgage payments, that insurance company will pay the bank the remainder of your loan. So if you can avoid PMI, and it usually runs anywhere from like $75 to $150 a month, that is money that you can avoid having to pay out that gives you positively zero benefit from what I can find. So first and foremost, 20% down if you can swing it, and I hope that you can. If you can put even more money down than that, then all the better, because it reduces your mortgage payments and it gives you more cash flow in your regular budget. The second thing I would say is always have a little excess cash left aside, not put down as the down payment. So I have found with every home that we've ever purchased that there have been things we found after the fact or just improvements we wanted to make right away that would have been difficult to cash flow, and therefore it's worthwhile to have that little bit of extra cash. Item number 3 is to take out a 30-year fixed mortgage. Now, the 30-year fixed is really great because it gives you what I call cash flow opportunity. So let's say your mortgage is for 30 years and you're like, my mortgage payment is $750 a month. And let's say you do the math and you find out that if you wanted to pay it off in 15 years, it's going to be, I don't know, $1,500 a month. I love the idea of choosing the 30-year fixed and choosing to pay $1,500 a month versus taking a 15-year loan and being forced to pay $1,500 a month, because if you have the discipline to make the extra payment, then if something does come up that an unexpected thing, because right, life happens, things happen, then you can opt for the period of time that you're in recovery of whatever that mishap or circumstance is, that you could pay less. You could pay the $750 and then have the other $750 to cash flow toward whatever's going on in your life. If you feel like you don't have the discipline to pay like a 15-year, even though it's on a 30-year, then go ahead and take out the 15-year loan. I know this is what a lot of other people recommend, but I just have seen so many times in my life where people budget for a harder payoff, so to speak. Like when I say harder, I mean like they have to pay more money on a monthly basis. And then when life happens, they have to rely on credit cards to get by or take out a personal loan or pull out an equity loan on the house. And I don't want you to have to do that. Being able to adjust what your cash flow is to meet current circumstances is smart. I forgot to mention this when I was talking about mistakes that we had made, but another one that I tell people to always think about is when you're calculating your monthly payment, don't forget escrow of taxes and property insurance. We didn't think about that when we were buying the house. When you put in those calculators that ask you like how much house can you afford, they will tell you how much house you can afford based on a mortgage at such and such interest rate. They've gotten better since back in 2006, but back when I was doing it, I don't really remember seeing very many that included what you thought your projected tax payments were going to be or what you thought your insurance payments were going to be. So remember when you're using those calculators that you need to look at a calculator that considers those additional items so that you know what your monthly payment will be, because it is not strictly going to be what the mortgage repayment amount is. That's just the lion's share of it, but there are other things that can quickly add up if you're not aware or savvy to them. And then lastly, buy less house than you can afford. It kind of falls into the category of keep it simple. When we purchased our home in Littleton, thankfully, we already had figured out a lot of these hard lessons from the mishaps of our Richfield house. But when we lived in Littleton, we were approved for a loan of, I want to say it was like $350,000 at the time. And we decided to purchase a house that was $270,000 or thereabouts. So we did look at some houses that were in the upper range. And let me tell you, I was tempted. But we made a firm commitment that we would never be house poor again. So even though we were approved for up to a certain dollar amount, we did the numbers, we ran our budget, and we made sure that we could actually easily, with breathing room, afford the house that we purchased. And so that is one thing I really super encourage people to do. Like, do the math. Do the math, figure out what the payments will be, and then make your decision. So there you have it, guys. Those are the many, many painful moments we had as an initial homeowner. And that doesn't even count when we had the leak in the basement or when we realized there was no dishwasher. People, I didn't even notice there was no, I was so excited to buy this house. I didn't even notice that the kitchen didn't have a dishwasher. That's that was one of the first additions that we made. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this story. I will share more of these as I think them up and I think about my financial journey, but I hope you all are having a smooth sail right now in your financial journeys, and I hope you enjoy this video. So give it a like, give it a share, and I will see you in the next one.